good evening, good morning, good night, you lovelies. It is the one, the only Cappy D Bar, and we're here to discuss some movies, actually. All right, this is pretty interesting, pretty new, a little different, huh? We are going to be discussing, all right, one of the most worldly renowned movies at the moment. All right, Spider-Man Brand New Day. As a very funny YouTuber said, I'm biting this joke off. It's fine, comedians do it all the time. The entire cast of the Odyssey is in this movie, and along with a couple of side characters like your fan favorites, Ned and MJ, or Zendaya, or some iteration of MJ. They really want to stamp down that she is her own character, which is nice. It's cool. But it really butts heads with the whole "we are the 616. Anyone who tells it differently are just a couple of nerds. Go back to your comic books." And it's like, all right, but she doesn't really act like MJ. Like, there's not a lot of 616 things here, right? I'm getting into the weeds very early in this script. My apologies. Listen, the movie, all right, has already grossed well, right, probably well over its its projected revenue. It is again, it starts off as a very good, down-to-earth Spider-Man movie about loss and consequences. And I think even the beginning montage where he's running through the gallery, I think that's a positive. There are definitive positives about this movie. The acting on display from everybody, right? I think that they really do their best to kick it into high gear. And maybe this is because they want to offer a little bit more light to the Spider-Man IP, or maybe it's because these guys know that the next good performance they get could possibly land them an Emmy Award or a Tony Award, or the stakes in the optics of being a successful actor have changed entirely in Hollywood. So everybody who needs to be here gives a very solid, I'd say above average B+ performance, right? Very good stuff, especially from Ned and Peter. A lot of people are kind of like really digging their elbows into some of those scenes, and in the terms of how they relate to the plot, it is a little ham-fisted. I'll acknowledge that, but I can say that with the Raimi movies and even with some of the Andrew Garfield movies, there always was an aspect of like, we are going to do this because it has to happen. It may not feel very organic, but that's the story and that's what we're doing. So there's I will say there's a couple of trims at the nose to spike their faces, but the connection that we see between these two all the way from Homecoming to now is solid. Like, it's good. It's just good. So, us revisiting our connections with Ned and Peter and Mary Jane or Michelle Jones or Zendaya. I swear to God, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they don't really acknowledge her as like MJ. I think that does Tom ever say MJ? You know what? Toby acknowledges Zendaya as his MJ. Or like, because Andrew Garfield says it in No Way Home. Okay, I'm piecing things together, chat. We're piecing things together. But right, the beginning of this movie is the best, strongest part, right, where we're kind of understanding what's at stake, and then we get introduced to the mutation. Now, and unfortunately, this is where some of the bad starts to seep into this. Again, like, pretty all right movie on its face. The mutation storyline has been done about 3 different times. 4 if you want to count the animated series, and it's all kind of led somewhere. Like, even when like Miles thought he was like mutating, it was like an entire like storyline with like a Nancy and like the first like web weaver. Like, it was I'll say that there was always an avenue for something very creative and for something very out there, maybe even something a little out of pocket on our way to something like Doomsday and Secret Wars, something that really sets the playing field for what's ahead. And for this, it's kind of just like an afterthought. And unfortunately, and I hate to say it, this nigga, it's crazy. Spider-Man damn near is moving like a Dominican ICE agent. Like, he's practically like, I know black, papi, I know black, mi dominicano. He works hand in hand with the DODC, who, by the way, for at least 3 shows now have been entirely out of pocket. 4 if you want to count Daredevil. I mean, am I alone in this chat? Wonder Man, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, Daredevil. There are plenty of instances where the DODC have been a bit too much. Hey, a bit too much. But for some reason, Spider-Man is just working hand in hand with these guys. Speaking of the hand is just a second thought. All of the work that we put into the hand, and they're building up as a criminal enterprise in the streets of in the lower level streets of New York, right? Bringing them across people like a Jessica Jones, a Luke Cage, a Punisher, right? That's what they were there for. Now, as stated by the not so covertly veiled villain, they're just a bunch of teenagers, a bunch of lost teenagers with no direction. And it's funny, I would see something like this making sense if they did a Young Avengers film. If they were doing a Young Avengers film, a bunch of ragtag teenage ninjas who don't give a fuck about the world, that would make sense. But they're going to change the name of the Young Avengers to the Champions, and then they're going to delay that till 2030. So who the fuck knows what they're going to do with the hand? I really want the best for this universe, but they do little things like this. And we're going to get to the rest of this movie, right? Because Peter is hand in hand with the cops. Hand in hand with the cops. Is it always like that? Not really. Not really. Are there issues where that is 100% the dynamic, where the cops are trusting of a good-hearted, well-meaning, fucking 66 versus 0, like a good versus bad score? Like, there's a lot of goodwill in a lot of issues and a lot of comic book runs where, Spider-Man is just the default good guy. He's just a great hero to have around, right? And everybody reveres him and everyone loves him for it. Perfect example, Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi, right? The cops aren't exactly, they're not advantageous to Spider-Man because he's fucking Spider-Man, right? So, him working with the cops, it's not a foreign idea. But then he says shit like, yeah, I'm using my fucking flock cameras to, put on an AI filter of everyone in a 30-mile radius of the crime scene of China. And I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, whoa, brother, what the fuck are we doing? And then the cop lady, I guess her name is DeWolf. I didn't know this, right? The cop lady is saying, you're not really allowed to do that. Like, you're not really allowed to like break Fourth Amendment laws and then just kind of make a joke about it. But I think there's like a whole like cutout plot where this cop's children gets like saved by Spider-Man. That's the only explanation for why there's like, I'm not even joking, 2 to 3 scenes of like her children like you have a crush on Spider-Man. You like Spider-Man. And it's such like, I don't know. I understand. Again, he's a beloved figure in New York because he has saved multiple lives. Again, he's up 66 on the ops. Like, I get it. Trust me, I do. But doesn't Spider-Man, like, the idea that Spider-Man has like I don't want to sound like a chud, that he has like a phone he could pull out that the cops can just reach him from. Whoa, what the fuck are we doing? And understandably, it's Spider-Man, fucking tech genius. It's probably untraceable, unrecognizable on on the national grid, whatever. But why? It just feels so primal for somebody like Spider-Man. And then we see Spider-Man like over, his evolution, right? After the events of No Way Home, he's just this broken guy who's just like living in this asbestos infested attic. And I guess that's why he doesn't have to pay rent, because as a half spider, he's resistant to asbestos. Okay, he has a bunch of tech that he maybe might have stole from a SHIELD facility, maybe a Hydra facility. Do we get any of that? No. Is it Riri Williams, the only tech genius in a fucking in a 60-mile radius of him? I know Chicago and New York's farther than 60 miles. Don't blow me, right? It doesn't say anything about that. It's just a lot of, yeah, man, I'm figuring things out, and I miss MJ so much, and I miss Ned so much, so I'm following them on IG for like 4 straight years. He follows them for like a full ride to MIT. It's like, brother, like, it's like it gets to a point where it's like a therapist would tell him, Peter, you have to put the phone down. Like, where, like, somebody in his life would be like, brother, you gotta stop. And I guess there is nobody to tell him, right? But I guess that's the theme of the movie, right? Peter starts his movie off alone, completely obsessed with MJ and his old friends, and Ned. He only had like one of them, right? And eventually, right, Ned, he returns from MIT, and he grabs a mini keg and returns to a bit of a shindig, bit of a homecoming party for Ned and MJ, because they're roommates. Sure, why not? And basically, Peter like stalks Ned to this next location that could have just been like his home. Like, Ned could have just been like getting groceries and like about to throw on the Giants game. But I think there's little aspects of like real personhood like that where they just don't want to like throw into these movies, because it just adds a little bit more layers, and it takes away from when we make stupid, idiotic jokes later. Like, if Ned was just doing anything else with his time than running a fucking, basically a beer run for a party to more or less kind of raise, like, that's pretty much what like the homecoming digs are for, kind of, like your first month back in the city, probably trying to raise like 2nd or 3rd month's rent, is what it is. And as he's making this beer run and Peter stalks him back, I'm just like, all right, well, this is super fucking convenient for you, isn't it, Peter? Then Ned goes upstairs and we see MJ, and it's like this entire whirlwind of a situation, and he's just like, oh man, this is my old life rushing back at me all at once. And he rushes into a room where he finds Ned's obsession wall. And this is where some of the real questions can start being asked in this movie. Where does reality and the spell stop, right? Because I swear to God, I'm not crazy. There are instances where Spider-Man, as Spider-Man, he speaks to Ned from the perspective of Peter. He's saying like I'm 90% sure Ned has said something like, Peter, and Spider-Man has responded. So also, does he not remember helping Spider-Man, being his computer guy? And if that's the case, then why the fuck did we steal Miles Morales' computer guy just to make this computer guy just like the CEO of sex? Like, that's all he is now. It's like, oh, I'm just a guy. I'm just hanging out, bro. And it's like, man, I feel like these stories used to mean more. Like, I feel like they used to do things like we see posters for Oscorp, and then in the next couple of movies, we see Osborn, and we know, oh shit, the Green Goblin's on the way. Like, there were wheels in motion, and now I just feel like they just stop everything. Like, everything just stops where it is. Like, Peter's consequences with losing everything from the last movie, it stopped. It's halted in its tracks. Peter's mutation that starts, again, as a very funny comedian said that I will not take credit for, we got a little fear of sitting in the cuck chair. Understandably so. MJ has a boyfriend, which she kind of fucking hates, right? So as he leaves and almost throws himself into traffic, he returns and he almost goes fucking man spider. But this mutation, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't have an endpoint. It doesn't have somewhere that, we can fully get a well-rounded perspective on what his ideas of mutations are. It's just deemed as just a negative, just an immediate negative, and that's all the storyline is. Like, no, I have to kill it. It's a cancer. I have to cut it out. And it feels so antagonistic to the idea of what mutanthood is, and understandably so. The ideas of mutants, it is fairly new in this universe, but then that's my fucking issue, because if this is truly the new 616, then what the fuck happened to the first year X-Men team and their Avengers across all of the world? Sorry, you're a superhero, you have no knowledge of the X-Men, one of the first teams, again, canonically, if you want to be the 616, or we acknowledge that these aren't the 616 stories that we're being given, and now some of this stuff kind of makes sense, but even then you have niggas like Kamala Khan. So is it Uchiwali or is it One Mike? Where does reality and where do the memories stop? Because it genuinely seems like Peter, his memory was somehow wiped when the Doctor Strange did that spell. And this is, I guess where we can get into our big crescendo for the movie, right? Our threat setting premise, right? The events, of Spider-Man cocooning himself really freaked him the fuck out, right? And basically, he runs hightail to a tank running through Midtown Manhattan. This tank, Spider-Man has a really hard time stopping, I guess. Stopped trains before, but I guess he can't stop a tank. Don't know. Hey, whatever. I feel like somebody who can take down at least like 3 super enhanced beings at least 4 times a week for about 4 years straight. I would assume that there was some kind of version of a Rhino in this universe. I would like to assume that you have taken down Rhino, Peter. You can't take down a tank though. All right. Whatever. We see the car, right? The tank car bombardment thing. Don't be a fucking, don't be too anal about it. We see this vehicle race down the most congested state in the country, just full speed. And I'm supposed to believe that if anyone died here, it should have been heavily implied, or maybe stated in a news ticker or something like that. New York City has almost the third to second highest propensity in jaywalkers in the country. Am I supposed to believe that not a single person got hit by the fucking rolling tank as they were just making their daily stroll to work? Am I to believe that? And then they'll do shit like they'll advertise the Samsung headphones that block out all sound. I wonder if anybody was using their Samsung headphones while a fucking 30,000 pound tank was barreling down New York. My apologies, New York City. I gotta be proper when I state this, so the keyboard warriors don't hop in the comments. So as New York City again is just getting dog walked, simply dog walked, brother, by this massive tank that Spider-Man can't stop, because I guess the entire thing here is that he is still adjusting to his powers, and in him still adjusting to his new powers, it's a lot of like strength. It's a lot of calculations that, were kind of touched on in the, the Spider-Man games where, you have to make sure you know what the fuck you're doing when you're swinging, where you're swinging from, or else you're just going to be like, extremely out of control and using way more force than precision, essentially. And that's what happens. Spider-Man, he runs into walls. And yeah, I guess if you think about it from that lens, that is the reason why he had such a hard time stopping the tank, because he was nerfed. I feel like there are so many iterations where they go, oh, you're turning into Man Spider, you're becoming stronger and more cutthroat, not I can't swing properly, and it feels like such a foreign idea for Spider-Man to go, oh man, my calculations for my swinging are off somehow. It's like, brother, I feel like that's like one of those things where they haven't exactly confirmed it to the T. I feel like that should be a part of your skill set. It's funny I say that, but then again, he's resistant to asbestos, so there's clearly some things that are just more I feel like that's Spider Bite, right? It left more than we understand, because it just doesn't make any sense that he's foreign to swinging all of a sudden, but somehow, some way, he's also resistant to asbestos. And then to wrap all that up, he also has insane IQ in battle perception as a result of the spider bite. So maybe I'll just have to look more into that myself. But what I'm trying to say is that, again, the mutation, it just opens up a lot of questions about what this Spider-Man is exactly. What has he been through, and what does he really know? Because and this is such a fucking jabron example, but there are people who play the Spider-Man game and their entire thing is the swinging mechanic, right? And I just find it hard to believe that there are some fucking, again, there are some neckbeard sweats out there who could better calculate a mistake, who could better calculate a botched swing. Then again, the nigga who's been doing it for like, what, 5 odd years at this point, it just feels weird. It feels weird, but maybe that's me trying to mix reality with fiction, obviously, right? We see that when Spider-Man, when he stops this person that was, you know, barging through New York after they've crashed into the DOD center, really good visuals, for, by the way, you know, my normal complaint is that Hollywood movies are way too produced, are way too just ugly, way too gray, you know, that backlighting that all Hollywood movies have for some reason. That was a normal complaint that I have with these Hollywood movies, but this movie is shot very good. It's very, very good. The lighting is solid. And you know, again, that almost prison break scene with, you know, the DODC and their kind of jail that they have in the middle of New York. That also is really just fucking like that one also is just kind of like, you know, like who the fuck thought of that? Like what happened to the that massive floating thing? That massive floating, I'll put the picture up here, but there's a massive floating prison that they have in the Spider-Man game. Why not just use that? You're gonna put DODC headquarters with all of the criminals in the middle of fucking Times Square? That seems like really stupid. Like really fucking stupid. But again, right, you know, I guess if they actually had a solid, reasonable location for the DODC, they wouldn't be in this movie. It'd be Venom. It'd be somebody interesting, like the Green Goblin. Maybe a multiversal villain. Maybe if they had some nuts, it would be Spot. And that's how, you know, that's how we get a full weave of this into the Spider-Verse in fucking Homecoming trilogy. Well, quad trilogy, I guess. 4-piece? I don't even know what the fuck you would call this thing now. But everything that Marvel and MCU has crafted, maybe you just do a crossover villain. Kraven. Like, you guys realize we could have gotten like Kraven and like hints at Venom instead of whatever the fuck this is with the DODC. And then, oh my god, bro, here's the real fucking kicker. He realizes that the person is a body hopper. They can hop bodies, and it's like an entire thing for the whole movie. As the woman comes to out of this mind control, because this old lady who was driving this tank, right? He just kind of like shrugs it off like, okay, all right, cool. Let me chase somebody else. And it's like, the person that he eventually gets to at the top of the helicopter, which eventually frees Scorpion, because Scorpion's like, he's in transit. It's like this whole fucking thing, right? I guess there are 2 locations where there's DODC facilities. So, or maybe 3. I guess they allude to there being 3 because there's one in Bellevue or some shit. And then there's the original one that Scorpion's supposed to go to. So I guess that one's neither here nor there. I can't really make heads or tails of that one. As this message, again, but not the message, my apologies. As this person takes full control of the security guards that are transporting Scorpion, when Spider-Man, when he eventually stops the security guards, you know, to kind of try to get a hold on everything, the security guards are like emphatically like, Spider-Man, I'm so sorry, I don't remember anything, I don't know what's going on, where am I, what's going on? And at that point, that's already 2 instances of people going, Spider-Man, I don't know where I am. What the fuck is going on? I have no recollection of my memory. Unfortunately, it's not even the last time we see something like this, right? And there are some things in between this, right? He talks to Bruce Banner about his mutation, and they have like, honestly, like hand to God, they have like a really good conversation about mutants and the superhero world that is Marvel, right? I just wish that this wasn't in a Spider-Man movie. Like, all of this being in a Spider-Man movie, it makes this more frustrating, because this being the set dressing for the mutants, oh my god, like it bothers me so much. And it's a really intelligent thing that I've seen that I think we'll be touching on later. But for what the X-Men are supposed to represent, what they're supposed to mean in the Marvel universe, and then for this to be what we get, it's like, it literally kind of just feels like Winter Soldier all over again. It feels like Captain America and the Winter Soldier all fucking over again, where they attempt to tell a actually very a very adult, a very mature message, and then they just shit on the finish. And it's like, how do you get there? How do you get to the end and you take those choices? It's fucking baffling, right? Basically, Peter and his fucking his AI flock assisted robot machine that, again, is never touched on, it's never alluded who he stole it from, anything like that. It's just something that he has, because, you know, the guy who has to take a GED can just afford a fucking mega supercomputer that can access Flock. I'm being funny, it's not Flock, but it damn well might as be. He said he tapped into every single camera and every single piece of personal information, and it's just laughed off. And it's like, all right, well, this is the Spider-Man, the Surveillance State. I wasn't prepared for this movie, but I guess we're watching it. I guess we're watching Spider-Man, the Surveillance State. So after, you know, he's made his rounds, he's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. His mega computer makes him a universal inhibitor, essentially, which is something that he does to kind of mitigate some of the more mutant traits in his body, but it's not working. All of his tests, again, from his 3D printer and his Grok powered machine, it's not giving him what he wants. Maybe because he's not using science, he's using like a fucking mega supercomputer that's running on what, a mega conductor? I don't fucking know. It has a 3D printer built into it, and it can tap into every single surveillance camera within a 50-mile radius of its hub. I don't know what you call that. I don't know what the fuck you call that, right? Basically, him and Hulk have this entire philosophical discussion about what it means to have mutagen abilities, or to have abilities that can either hurt or harm people. And they come to this, like, really, honestly, it's really like reasonable head-to-head, where, you know, Peter says that if you could possibly save lives from this inhibitor, would it be the worst thing in the world? And, you know, Hulk acknowledges it wouldn't be terrible, but there are extreme lengths that you have to go to, like entire writing of the DNA. That is a very serious, traumatic thing that I think no person would ever want to sit through if they were ever given enhanced abilities for the betterment of humanity, right? And there is a genuine conversation in this movie about that, but then again, this is Spider-Man, and we're not doing Man-Spider, so this is all set dressing. And then when everything finally loops back around in Spider-Man, he tries to return home to a fucking, and there's no other way to put it, right? He gets, like, terrorized by the fucking main villain. We learn that the main villain is somebody who can hop from body to body to body to body to body. They threaten to kill MJ and Ned, which is like, the fuck's up with that? And if not kill, let's say maim, all right, to an unrecognizable degree, right? Just for the sake of sponsors. And she does this thing where she just body jumps to body jump to body jump. And then she, like, aura farms by having some guy get hit by a speeding car at like 60 miles an hour. Also, the fucking right-of-way laws. What cab is moving like that in a pedestrian area and just floors a guy? I'm like, yo. And then, again, we have to assume that the body jumping is going to keep going. Why would somebody intentionally jump into traffic? And I'll touch on this briefly because, again, we're just here in the movie. There was a brief moment where, like, a black person talks to Spider-Man, and I'm not going to lie, I jumped out of my seat. I jumped out of my seat. I was like, hey, what we doing? What we doing? But, you know, I thought that they had the nuts to take that shot. They didn't take that shot. It was just a random guy who acted the scene very, very well. And again, that's all the acting in this movie. But the end points, like the finale for where these things are supposed to go, it's like, just fuck, man. Oh, it's so unconceivable how you make choices like this in a movie that is supposed to center the grounding effects of being Spider-Man, the loss, the tragedy, the years of wear and tear that builds on you. That is what was supposed to be the stage here, not like mutants. And I hate that I'm saying that because Spider-Man is a mutate, but there are certain things that we should be executing, and actual Spider-Man stories, I believe, is one of them. And again, now we're getting another threat-setting premises with who is revealed to be, you know, the antagonist of this movie, on nobody else's kind of fault or nobody else's kind of call but the antagonist. Like, it's a very intentional thing that they do. The release of, you know, the final victim, if you would call it that, was after Spider-Man to jump, that the distance this person needs to jump from body to body is about 33-ish feet. Now, that's a real specific thing, and they make that look really known, like, hey, don't get too close to her because she will steal your fucking mind, and then you'll be cooked barbecue chicken, right? Fucking all you can eat. And, you know, as this person is trapped in the sky, our antagonist acknowledges, oh, you know, you're very smart. You know, you're getting very wise. You know, you're figuring things out. But it's funny because there's this storyline in this, because there's this thread of a story that the stronger the mutation, the less able Spider-Man is able to sense what's going on. At first, he was very acutely aware to it, very perceptive of what was going on. But somehow, some way, even though the first interaction was after he kind of already had that cocooning moment, he doesn't seem to understand why either. He's just like, oh man, I can't sense her. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who I'm sensing. I don't even know who I'm talking to. And the antagonist really plays on it. And I'm not pausing for dramatic effect. I'm just really digesting. Then we find out that this person is Jean Grey, and I had to sit down, right? Because the trailers revealed so fucking much from this movie. They revealed the fight scenes. They revealed all of the mutation scenes. They revealed Jean Grey at least twice. I mean, there's not a single thing in this movie that wasn't spoiled on either Twitter or YouTube.com. And it's almost like they had no faith in this movie. It's almost like they had zero faith in this movie, and the first thing they could think about was just putting all of the fucking film on all of the websites as quickly as they can. I guarantee you, if you look through a Sony fucking Instagram page, at least a third of this movie is on Instagram's trailers. Like, what's the purpose in that? Because now, the idea that this was maybe a Madam Web, maybe this is a Silk, hell, a Gwen Stacy, whoever you wanted to put in this film for Sadie Sink's character, it could have been them.
until we see this mind control person is taking people over, and they're a girl with green eyes. Sadie Sink is reported to be in the movie on all of the trailer and promotional runs. Like, literally the worst kept secret that you could ever try to fucking promote. And then that's the flip side. Why not just promote the fucking X-Men and Why not just do that? Just do it. Like, it's insane that somebody in there probably pitched something to the like of the Lizard or Kraven and again, oh, they already did the Lizard. Well, whose fault is it that they botched doing a fucking Sinister Six? Whose fault is that? They made Dr. Octavius and the Lizard practically stand-in characters, damn near cardboard cutouts of their characters. Funny enough, the Lizard and Sandman were both CGI'd in the movie, almost as if they didn't have to be there. Oh man, there's so much to this movie that I just wish was taken more seriously, because there is no fucking way that Jean Grey's entire thing is just body hopping, right? Like, can we talk about who Jean Grey is and what Jean Grey is? She is an Omega level mutant and has been that way since birth. Her simple conception, all right, sparked a fire within the Phoenix Force that made it its mission to inhabit Jean Grey from the moment she was born. But all she can do in this movie is body hop. She is not a pyrokinesis. She cannot use any kind of telepathy, any kind of telekinesis, not telepathy, I apologize, any kind of psionic ability. She can't inflict psychic damage. It might sound like really D&D, but like, it's like Jean Grey has so many fucking abilities, yo. So many abilities. And like the idea that she's just like she can read minds, she can jump minds. And then the weirdest fucking part about this, the scene with her sister is a good scene. It is a good scene. Like where she's getting kidnapped and we get the kind of over the shoulder kind of trendy shot as she's like looking around her, trying to surveillance the area. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. But, and we can touch on this briefly, her sister's only powers to fucking body jump? Sarah Gray, right? We learned her name is Sarah Gray. The name's gonna be important for a later conversation. Is that these people's only ability? Like, oh yeah, we're telepaths. All right, so how are you a telepath? Well, I can inhabit your body. Oh, you don't want to like go do the lottery? You don't want to like go, I don't know, go tell somebody to give us like half of the store of chocolate bars? Like, you want to body jump into people and like steal their bodily autonomy? It's just weird. It's weird. It just doesn't make any sense. And then, we understand that this is again, a bit of set dressing for what happens, earlier in the movie when Zendaya gets her bodily autonomy stolen by Jean and she's forced to kiss Peter Parker, a guy she doesn't know. She does not know this guy. And she berates him like, what did she say? Like, oh, the wizard spell broken by true love's kiss. MJ would puke in her mouth. And then Peter says verbatim, if you have ever loved anyone ever, you would understand how evil and how cruel this is. I sat here and I seen that scene and said, there's no fucking way this is Jean Grey. This is the person who joins the X-Men, the fucking emotional, mental terrorist who rampaged down New York no less than a week ago for what? A code name she can't even identify. It's not even like, oh, we know the VMAX bunker. I know everything about what Stryker's doing. It's none of that. There's no Stryker. There is no, massive political campaign against the mutants that we really know of. It's just, hey, I need to know what VMAX is. And everyone is, what the fuck is she talking about? But like, and it's not even like niggas are lying. I genuinely think when Spider-Man asks Metzger, when he goes to the fucking ICE headquarters in the middle of Manhattan Square, what the fuck is VMAX? I genuinely think he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. When he said it, I'm like, oh, it's clearly a cover for Venom. It's clearly like a play on words like VMAX. Like you take the X and put it in front of V and you put the V where the X is and you flip it upside down. X-Man. I assumed it was something insanely creative like that. No, it was just this thing that this nigga Spider-Man goes to Yelena for. Yelena is now the new Avengers. Give me a fucking break. She's now Black Widow. Give me a fucking break, brother. Honestly, give me a fucking break. Nobody can tell me what the fuck VMAX is. The leader of the new Avengers can't sit here and go, hey, big guy, the most I found is an air conditioning unit. That's all I can tell you. It's an air conditioning unit, brother. That's all I can tell you. Because now if Spider-Man hears that information and just dismisses it for a dead end, now the hit at the end hits even harder when we learn what VMAX is. And it's confirmed that whatever the fuck she was looking for was just a dead end. Because she body jumps and she steals bodily autonomy to terrorize people for things she isn't even like confirmed. Like she isn't even sure about it. She doesn't have any intel. She's not like running with like X-Force. She's not like a Mystique or anything here that's like, oh, gathering information. It's just the fuck of it. Hey, I'm doing this shit for the plot. What do you know? I know nothing. I know absolutely fucking nothing. I'm going to storm this headquarters with my telepathic abilities, and I'm just gonna brute force my way in. With my telepathic abilities, I'm going to brute force my way in. Like that makes any fucking sense. Later in the movie, right after Zendaya is kind of put up in Hulk shelter, my apologies, kind of put up in Punisher shelter. The Punisher and Spider-Man, again, one of the positives of this movie, very good rapport. They have a very good chemistry. Not surprised, John Berthal, pretty solid actor, all things considered. And basically, right, he goes into DODC headquarters, and he finds Smart Hulk terrorizing Metzger and about 13 or so guards. And it's obvious at this point in the movie that Jean Grey, the person that we have identified as Jean Grey, the mutant with body jumping abilities, no other ability, she basically is inhabiting the Hulk. And when I seen this, I just went, okay. So let's just walk with me for a second. Let's walk with me for a second. If this is not somebody who is from a different universe, who is inhabiting this universe, who is either looking for a Magneto, most likely she's evil as fuck, or Charles from this universe to help her back to her universe, taking control of the Hulk makes no fucking sense, because the Hulk has been condemned by the public and by almost every politician involving superhero movies for at least a good decade since Age of Ultron. Since Civil War, so either this Jean Grey is a fucking hermit crab who has never seen the light of outside, has never turned on a television ever in her fucking 18 years of existence and seen Hulk and went, man, that's maybe somebody who could kill some innocent people. Or she is from a different universe and she went, let me just try to get some answers. But if you answered the first one, ding, 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 you'd be correct. Because she has files going back to her birth in this universe, and then we get a memory also in this universe where her sister is kidnapped, meaning she knows good and goddamn well what the Hulk is capable of and how horrible of an idea it is to set his mind amuck. And guess what the fuck happens in this movie, chat? For the sake of aura and pops, Hulk is in this movie. Hulk looks great. He probably looks as best as he looks since the 2008 movie. Hulk looks amazing. The idea that Hulk hasn't had a movie with Red Hulk and he's just put in this movie for a quick little fight scene kind of upsets me. Knowing who Hulk is at his core, a child of abuse. Somebody who is supposed to represent abuse. This is an abuse victim who just got mind wiped and fucking mind controlled for the sake of who or what? An unidentifiable target in VMAX. I just don't think it makes any fucking sense, especially with somebody who lives in this universe. Like, how stupid is Jean where she can't even Google it? Google it. You think Reddit forums on secret fucking government superhero operations aren't happening on Reddit in that universe? Fucking Twitter, whatever you want to call it. There are some informational sites where you can ask the internet, man, what is this thing? And if Jean Grey has a scene like that where nothing comes up, then maybe she gets frustrated, thinks of her sister, and just grabs the Hulk out of fucking osmosis. But this nigga literally minding his business with a created inhibitor that can only be used to nullify the monster you're manipulating right now. And her being able to manipulate the Hulk, that's a whole nother conversation, right? That being used as a device to get to something you don't know about, you can't even really she couldn't point to VMAX on a map. Like if you were to show her 16 random images, she couldn't tell you which one was VMAX. That is not something you pull the Hulk out of fucking hibernation for. I'm sorry. I think the only thing I can truly excuse with this Sarah Grey and Jean Grey shit at all is the simple fact that I guess this is the iteration of the KKK, or the mutant KKK. For those who don't know, that's how Sarah Grey in the comics was unalived, was murdered. She was essentially a non-mutant who was, again, an innocent person taken by the hate of mutants, right? And it was a really sad story in the comics. Again, that's somebody who had nothing really to do with the X-Men at all. She was simply just related to Jean Grey, and she was, again, murdered as a result of it. So, finding out that this random person is kidnapped, so finding out that this person we learn is Sarah Grey was kidnapped in the middle of broad daylight, it is a little upsetting. But then when you really look at it, the story is being changed, so it kind of makes sense for this plot when it could have just not happened in this movie. This could have just been told in the second X-Men film, or maybe the X-Men 97 show. I don't feel like this is something that had to be shoehorned into the movie, because make no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen, fucking retconning and completely rewiring a D-list Marvel character with no kind of psychic or mutant abilities into a Spider-Man film for the sake of the X-Men story. That is a literal shoehorn. I apologize. I don't mean to be crass when I say that. It just feels like there's so much there's so much space in this movie. And there's so many other things that could be taking up this space. That isn't Sarah Grey in a reworked origin story for Jean Grey. That again kind of implies that these niggas were just kind of like bums. I'm not gonna lie, these are the abilities that they make fun of on The Boys. Does that make any sense? Fucking nobody. The dork can only jump about 33 feet. He got kicked out of the 7 like 16 years ago. That's the kind of joke that you would make about this power. It's a horrible power. And the idea that Sarah Grey is given this power when her original story is so much more heartbreaking. It's like it feels just like a waste. All of this feels like a massive waste, unfortunately. I guess we should finish up the scene with the Hulk and the Punisher, something that, again, was heavily spoiled in the fucking trailers. The Punisher comes to basically try to reinforce Spider-Man with grenades and bullets. The Punisher came to reinforce Spider-Man from the Hulk with grenades and bullets. And unfortunately, I thought that they would do some comic book shit and have Spider-Man give belt to ass. Because again, he's Spider-Man. Maybe if they had the fucking nuts, they would go blacked out eye Spider-Man who is locked the fuck in versus the Hulk. That would be very, very fucking entertaining. Do we get that? No. Spider-Man basically gets jabroned by the Hulk. He turns him, like, basically the Hulk turns this nigga Spider-Man into a bit of a jabron, right? And Spider-Man uses like the shocker fist just again for aura and pops, spoiled in the trailers. Don't we love that, ladies and gentlemen? Punisher goes after Jean Grey. He gets body swapped. And then, surprise, surprise, Jean Grey's left kind of disoriented after trying to mind control the Hulk. Maybe it's just like a telepath trope where they think they could just take over this big, dumb, stupid nigga. But it never really gave that, like, Bruce Banner was never there. It always kind of seemed like, oh, there are two people in there. As a telepath, why are you going to try to attack somebody with two people in there? Then she telepathically jumps into Punisher's body and she goes like, oh man, this guy watched his family die in the middle of Times Square. Like literally like, oh man, his family was taken from him in the middle of Times Square, just like my sister was. That's crazy. And then he basically she just uses the Punisher as like a meat shield, more or less, gets into the vaults. And, and she gets into the vault where Metzger is hiding that Hulk tried to break down. There's a really good line about that. Jean Grey was like, the door is going to be just fine. It's the wall you should worry about. And I was like, that's tough. That was tough. That was pretty tough. I ain't gonna hold you. That was pretty fucking tough. As a Metzger is sitting in this, essentially like this safe, right? Massive safe. Spider-Man makes the mega save, right? Hulk has, he sacrificed himself after Spider-Man, again, got the dog shit beat out of him, and he just let himself fall into a pile of rubble. Also, can we talk about a pile of rubble just being able to take out the Hulk? I like to think it was more of an emotional takeout, because brother, if you're telling me that the Hulk just got, kind of defanged by some falling rubble, I pray that's not what we're trying to insinuate, and I'd like to think it isn't. After, again, the Punisher, he kind of sets his sights on two co-workers of Metzger. Jean jumps into Metzger's brain. Metzger, at this point, I like to believe that he's either making up false memories, or he's lying, or he's doing some insane 4D chess movement. But I think I'm just left to believe that he was just in there just getting mind fucked. Like, I'm not even trolling. He was in there just getting tossed around mentally. Like, he was getting tossed up in the air mentally by Jean Grey. That's the only thing I can really imagine. Because Jean Grey roots this nigga's mind, and apparently she can't find anything about VMAX. And it's just like, if this isn't the most definitive dead end, I don't know what is. He's in front of you. He's right there. Now, reasonably, you can say, oh, well, she couldn't do it because Punisher was there. XY. But for like 2 seconds, you can't have Punisher just like, I don't know. And again, it's not like she's cared about anybody else's livelihood for the rest of this movie. Just throw Punisher out the window. Punisher literally has like the Kenny rule, where if he falls real hard and maybe splatters into like, I don't know, 10 different pieces, he'll be fine. He's Punisher. It's literally the Kenny from South Park rule. Do whatever the fuck you want to Punisher, then mind hop into Metzger. You already taken out his bodyguards. For some reason, she keeps Frank here, and I guess for this reason, she can't hop into Metzger's mind, even though there's ample opportunity to do so. Spider-Man then uses this time to put the inhibitor on Jean Grey, which then kind of catapults the last half of this movie, where we realize that Metzger, in his confusion of everything, lies about Spider-Man. And basically, he lies to Spider-Man for the sake of the plot. Because if he knows anything about Jean Grey's powers, he would know that the victims have no recollection of their memory. So why would, as he, who's hiding something, have recollection of his memory? I don't know. He's the leader of the fucking DODC, the mutant surveillance state. So let's continue with the rest of this movie, shall we? Spider-Man eventually, he rushes back to, I guess, the ship or the harbor, whatever the fuck Punisher's staying at. And he has an entire blow up scene with Zendaya where he tells her, hey, if you would have known what really happened, you could have died. The Goblin probably would have spawned out of some portal somewhere. Listen, the Goku rule is pretty simple. Where there is strength, a stronger person will always come to rival. So Spider-Man just lays it out plainly like, I can't be Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And that's why I didn't read you this note. Basically saying like, I am who I am. There's also this whole dynamic where Spider-Man's kind of like trying to dirty Mac on Zendaya's girlfriend, or trying to dirty Mac on MJ's boyfriend. And MJ, she's not going, she's not green bean, but she's definitely like, yeah, this nigga kind of sucks. His car kind of whack, his house kind of dirty. It is what it is though. Like she low-key playing with the nigga. And I'm like, man, Spider-Man, how you get him is how you lose him, brother. How you get him is how you lose him. I'd be careful. So basically, as Spider-Man and, MJ have built this really good rapport over, I'd say like a good day or two of Spider-Man trying to protect Jean, trying to protect MJ from, as Spider-Man trying to protect MJ, from the body-hopping mind terrorist that is Jean Elaine Grey. They have a pretty good connection, and this connection is kind of halted when Zendaya learns, I'm not who you think I am, and I don't fucking know you. It's kind of weird. can you give me a ride home? And that's the scene. That's the scene. It's acted beautifully, and Tom Holland does an amazing job. But I'll be honest, man, I want something a lot more adult. Like, I want something a lot more adult. I thought Zendaya was about to let this nigga crack. I thought Spidey was about to crack. You hear me? But, you know, eventually Spider-Man takes MJ home. MJ's like, do you want to come upstairs for a cup of coffee or something? And, you know, Spider-Man, you know, he started rubbing his hands together, Birdman style, walked upstairs, and he seen Ned. And then they, you know, they played Legos and had a soft, again, allusion to maybe Doctor Strange's spell not fully working to how we think it is, or maybe working to exactly how we think it works. It's a whole fucking mind game with that shit, no, unintentionally, no puns intended. All right, it is very, very confusing because she draws Peter in the homecoming suit, which I guess maybe she would recognize from being saved by Peter many moons ago. I guess I don't fucking know, chat. I don't know, right? As she's having a conversation with Peter, you know, Peter addresses the kiss that they had, and Zendaya says pretty flatly, like, "Hey, brother, man, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't remember anything about being mind controlled. I remember you catching me, and I remember waking up in the middle of the street, but like, that's it. Like, it's not really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the fuck to tell you." And Spider-Man realizes that the guy who has been in charge of the corporation, again, the surveillance state, security, militarized police state, or like literally the surveillance, militarized police state organization that has been doing evil shit for 3 entire shows now, they're evil all of a sudden. Just coconut fell on my head, literally just forgot about it, right? He marches down to the DODC headquarters, and again, fight scene ensues. Pretty good. He hunts down Jean Grey. Jean Grey is being tortured, and here in this moment we learn that this is where Sarah Grey died. VMAX was the last message projected out to Jean Grey, and it was because the last thing she's seen as she looked up, you know, in her final moments, again, from this ability that only does the jumping thing. That's all it does, nothing else. It isn't like we're rapidly enhancing your mutant ability, like nothing. It's like you're gonna keep getting jumped, and like low key on the lowest of keys, it was kind of like a real like sexual like undertone to this. I wasn't a big fan of it. It felt like it was like, yes, Jean, keep having body convulsions and twisting your body up. You're just doing mutant abilities. Yes, it was like, okay, all right, I'm not a fan. Between me and you, not a fan of it. Spider-Man, right? He eventually kind of gets himself close enough to the safety door, but then we see that it's interesting, right? Because originally the hand was just there to stop him along with everyone else, because again, he's a dangerous piece of shit, right? You know, he was a guy who worked with the DODC to trap villains and trap enhanced abilities, and now he's working against them, so he's kind of like turning coat. Listen, if I was a DODC agent, I'd also be a little irritated with the fucking walking arachnid, right? As you know, this revelation comes to Jean Grey, she kind of blacks the fuck out basically, and she shows signs of mutant evolution. And I guess this is something that they want to do progressively, like every Omega level mutant doesn't start out that way. Not a big fan of that, but that's the only real explanation for what we get with Jean Grey right here. Because the idea that Jean Grey, you know, that she takes control from everyone that she needs to, and again, a 30 to 50 foot radius at this point, because it extends after she learns about the death of her sister, right? Sadie Sink is acted very good in this role. She's a very good actor, but I just wish that this meant more to me. I wish that VMAX meant more. I wish that Sarah Grey as a character and the mutants at large, I wish they meant more, but unfortunately they just don't. They literally don't. And then everything as a result in this third act is just Spider-Man going, man, like, you're a mutant and you're pretty evil, but you know, you can be a better person. And yes, that is the heart of Spider-Man, but like, honestly, I don't know what villain needs to be talked down after mentally assaulting at least 4 to 5 different people, including Scorpion. Like, there's a scene where she just takes over Scorpion again for like the love of the game. If you can mind jump, there is a way where you can gather information without being all big and stupid about it. So now Scorpion is back in the shit house after not really doing anything wrong. Like, he literally was given the opportunity to commit more crime as a way of means, and he did. Because who the fuck is about to order Scorpion at McDonald's? Like, you know what I mean? It felt like such an open and shut thing with all of these mind control scenes. And then Scorpion, again, somebody who has no recollection of what happened. And for some reason, Spider-Man needed a speech from, he needed a conversation with MJ to get to that conclusion. I'm just like, I feel like you're really behind the fucking curve here, brother. Like, somehow, some way, this Spider-Man, he doesn't create his own technology from scratch. He can't do in-air equations on the fly. He can't even do simple detective work. Like, all of these people having no memory of their mind wipe and their mind control. But for some reason, you, the shady guy who was in charge of Lord knows how many fucking militarized thugs, all right? How many gunned thugs you have on the street that probably terrorize people who aren't even mutants, right? Imagine you have a weird skin pigment because of the aliens who fall out of the fucking sky in this universe. And now I'm being harassed because I might be, an Avenger level threat? Suck my dick. Like, the idea that Spider-Man isn't already against the DODC when this movie starts, wild conception. So, so him having to get like his 9th or 5th piece of information that something is wrong with the information coming from this place. Like this is now your 5th or 6th time being told, like, this is not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. Simple as that. Like there's something evil. There's something, like there was something, like honestly, just sick. There is something malicious. Fuck. There's something malicious happening in these buildings, in these prison centers. I don't understand how that's such an insane concept to Spider-Man, of all people, who should be getting hunted down by the cops. I mean, in his battle with Scorpion, he literally almost kills a cop, and he has no other antagonizing force, and he has no other issue with the cops moving forward in the whole movie. Like, for the whole movie, it's never like, back up, get away. You know, don't support Spider-Man. He's a thug. He's a criminal. Where's Jay Jonah? Where's Jay run through fucking New York? Where is he? Like, where are the people who are actually supposed to be keeping this guy centered? Because I swear, if it's only MJ, that's bonkers. It's bonkers, brother, man. It's crazy. It's fucking insane. I guess I'm just really saying all this to say this movie, it ends, right, with Jean Grey still, after learning about the death of her sister, still thinking about taking lives, still thinking about completely crashing out and just doing whatever she can to fill this void, right? And this is a very like 101 story plot. But I feel like it would mean more if she already wasn't this for the whole movie. I mean, a homeless guy, again, got his internal organs ruptured. Like, literally got his internal organs ruptured from Jean just aura farming. Bruce Banner is now the staple boy for crazy superheroes, and it's probably going to be the figurehead for any next any next build that's going to go through to demonize enhanced abilities now on behalf of Jean Grey. Jean Grey did that. So there are just a lot of aspects to the story where I'm just like, Jean Grey doesn't seem like she's worthy of any kind of, like, honestly, any kind of redemption. I just don't feel it. Like, in my heart of hearts, when I think about that scene with MJ and I hear Spider-Man say, if you've ever loved anyone, you would know how cruel and how evil this is. That is an undeniable fact, and I genuinely think they should have taken that out of the movie, because that alone makes Jean seem like an irredeemable piece of shit, because she never apologizes for it. Ever. So now, as she holds Metzger hostage, I guess that's what's going on, right? She has this entire dialogue with Spider-Man where she's like, you finally came. Well, I hate to break it to you, but you can't be Peter Parker and Spider-Man. The man seemed to be eating the spider. What are you gonna do, Spidey? And again, this entire time, Spider-Man is having this thing with his inhibitor. And for some reason, MJ has science on the inhibitor that Peter Parker hasn't taken into accountability. And there are moments where Peter just seems like such a xenophobic piece of shit when it comes to mutant abilities. He's like, how can I just remove all of the bad parts of my DNA and only keep the good parts of my DNA? I'm like, brother, are we talking about eugenics in a fucking Spider-Man movie? Like, it's insane. It's crazy to me, at least. Spider-Man, he comes to this realization like, oh, the mutation's good, and I'm just gonna utilize it to fight harder. I paused for like 6 seconds when he said that shit. So the mutation wasn't Man-Spider. It wasn't like a multiversal, like, beckoning call. It wasn't the totem of spiders. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't Moloch. It was nothing like that. It was aura farming and trailer clips. That's all it was. That's all it was. And in this entire scene, MJ's like, oh, I don't know why you need the inhibitor. This is like something you put on a monster. You look like a guy who's just trying harder. And I'm like, a guy who's trying harder can't do in-air calculations after doing them in his head, like supposedly for what, 7 years already? Like, Spider-Man had trouble swinging in the air. I'm never gonna get over that in this movie. Like, it's one of the silliest fucking things I have ever seen in my life. I'm sorry. The only thing that actually relates to that and makes any sense is when Peter lost his ability to swing as he was losing his ability to become Spider-Man due to his mental trauma in Spider-Man 2. But for some reason, with enhanced web ability, he's like nerfed. Don't know what the fuck is up with that, brother, man. Couldn't tell you. Spider-Man, basically, he goes up against the Hand and all the DODC agents by himself, and it's like a whole thing. But I'm not gonna lie, man. Again, the Hand were just fucking wasted. The Hand were wasted. There's no other real way around it, right? The Hand, they're moving like this ant colony, kind of like single-minded movement. And in my mind, when I seen that in the trailers, again, briefly, I don't really watch trailers, but I was like, oh, that's cool, that's different. That's something that would make them stylistically different from everything else we've seen. And then I understood that it was only being done like that because Jean is having a hard time controlling 5 different people at once. So they're moving all cool and stylistic because of the telepath, not because they're the Hand, and they're gonna have a big part to play in later Marvel, later Marvel installations. It's a bit of a Debbie Downer, you know. It's a bit of a Debbie Downer, honestly. Like, it's shit like that in this movie. I'm let down. I'm let down by this movie. Honestly, it's like a brand new day, but you're like 800 behind in rent. Like that's what this feels like. This feels like another trap, another hamster wheel that I'm forced to fucking participate in for some wild fucking reason. After everyone is defeated, and again, there's no other real way around it, right? Jean, she has frozen all of Manhattan, and Punisher is not a big fan of that. No, he is not. So he has set up a perch outside of the about 100-mile radius where she's frozen everybody, and I guess everyone's just kind of suffering. I guess they're just, it would essentially be like your dream state when you try to run and your body just moves like a snail's pace. That's basically what's happening with Jean Grey's abilities right now. And again, that's all she can do. That's all. She stops people. She body jumps. Ooh. She can pick things up with her mind. Ooh. Like, it's like, Fuck, man. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this shit. Honestly, I'm not, right? I'm really just not. Supervillain Jean Grey. She stands in front of Metzger, completely fine, completely unharmed. Mind completely unpicked of other mutants in the immediate area that she may want to warn, or other crimes against humanity that this department or that this company has maybe performed. Maybe, hypothetically, and she's just threatening to kill about 3,500 max New Yorkers and Metzger. I already thought Metzger would be dead between me, you, and the upload bar. All of the New Yorkers, though, the fuck did they do?
And it occurs because ginger kids have no souls.
You've been terrorizing them for like 2 days straight. Honestly, 2 to 3 days. Jean Grey has genuinely been a fucking terrorist, and I'm supposed to believe that she's about to go link up with the Brotherhood, was supposed to go link up with Charles Xavier and do what? She needs to be Magneto's right-hand woman until, I don't know, the Phoenix Force, maybe the Phoenix Force rebirth turns her into good Jean Grey, because she's a horrible, horrible person. I mean, there's not even like any debating about it. Again, unless their allegory for the, unless their adaptation of the X-Men, which is an allegory for racism, is just, man, these guys are pretty dangerous. They're pretty brutal. They're pretty deadly. They're pretty fucked up. But they're human, aren't they? It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is not this isn't even a good X-Men story. To portray mutants in this light, it is so dishonest of what we're supposed to be getting in actual mutant stories. This makes Genosha seem reasonable. Do you see how fucked up that sounds? If you were to show this movie to some random normie who had no idea about mutants, and then when there was an island of people who were just like Jean who got wiped off the face of the map, they would probably cheer. They'd probably pay more money to see people like Jean get slaughtered in mass. I just don't know what this is for, especially for your mutant saga that's on the way. It's a horrible idea. This is such a botch of a fucking Spider-Man film. It's horrendous. The final scenes of this movie is Jean Grey speaking to Aunt May, because Uncle Ben, he doesn't fucking exist. He never will. I'm just gonna have to get over it. She tells Jean Grey the same regurgitated basically what the fuck she tells Grey. Basically what she tells Jean Grey is when you have power, you can do good things. And with that power, you have to do good things because somebody has to, even if they're really mean to you. And I'm like, what is this reductionist view we're giving of somebody who forced a woman to kiss a man she didn't know? We killed Bear for it. We killed Bear for an obsession, so why does Jean Grey get a pass? Everyone's like, oh, you guys forgive Wanda. Who forgave Wanda? There was an entire section of the fandom who never forgave Wanda. What are we talking about right now? It seems like cherry picking upon cherry picking, because there's no way you look at the decisions and the actions and the words said by Jean Grey and you go, oh, this person is redeemable. No, respectfully, as horrible as it may sound, you may need to sit down in one of those kingpin detention centers we've seen in Daredevil Born Again. No joke, brother. No fucking joke. It's baffling. It's baffling. The end of this movie is Jean Grey kind of just getting a slap on the wrist. She hops on a bus to northern New York or New Jersey, where the fuck the Charles X Mansion is. She's gonna go pretend to be a good, complicated character, when in reality she's a fucking terrorist who should be with the Brotherhood of Mutants. They will not pull that trigger, though, I promise you that much. And Peter just basically tells himself, I need to learn how to be both, right? He took a big ass bullet for Jean Grey. He ended up healing from it, because this isn't Kraven's last hunt. So he healed from the bullet. Punisher says sorry for putting a 45 in that nigga's spine, and then Peter Parker is again welcomed back to the public good graces, as Frank models Spider-Man waving in the window, saying to everybody that Spider-Man is okay and New York's hero is just fine. New York's hero, unfortunately, has a very complicated philosophical stance on what it means to be a terrorist and what it means to be somebody who causes absolute and utter chaos in the community. I'd like to think that Jean Grey, is probably, maybe, just maybe, ICE's strongest soldier, right? Because there's nobody else doing domestic terrorism like Jean Grey. This movie was perfectly fine. It was perfectly fine. Strong 7 out of 10. Some of this other shit, though, like the surveillance state, I wasn't fucking with that. The only redeeming part about this movie was the end, when they did the secret buddy handshake between Ned and Peter, and Ned kind of woke up out of it. Get up out of it. That's kind of the best part of the movie. I really do think that Ned may remember Peter, not for any weird reason, just because the movies have just kind of given themselves stories of their own, and none of these stories are cohesive anymore. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's just the way it is, and maybe things will never be the same. Oh yeah. Okay. Again, super fine movie, but some of the shit just stunk. It fucking stunk, chat, and we gotta acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge it. All right, that was everything that your boy Cappy had for brand new day. This is one of my longer videos. All right, thank you for sitting through it. You're a brave one. All right, you are very brave. All right, have a lot of other stuff going up for the rest of the week, including One Piece. All right, a little SmackDown, a little Collision, and a little weekly world report. All right, that's everything that your boy has. All right, hope all of you stay hydrated, stay healthy. Have you catch us whenever you catch us, and stay tuned, stay safe, stay beautiful. Peace.